Overall, how do you feel about the 2020 class on defense?
I'm really excited. I think we took care of a lot of areas of concern, a lot of areas for the right now, and then some areas obviously for the future. There's no doubt about it.
What were kind of the key areas? I mean, obviously up front you lose a lot of D linemen. I know that was probably a key area, but what was kind of the target areas or things you were trying to accomplish?
Well, that was certainly number one. Absolutely. I mean, you have the guys that we had, that are done now, and that was a heck of a front four. There's no doubt about it when you throw Curtis Weaver in that mix. So in that area, I think we did a good job of addressing some immediate needs to add immediate competition. And then we have some guys that we're able to develop for down the road. There's no doubt about it. I think when you look at the group, I think the biggest thing overall is just versatility. I think we got some length at corner. I think we got safeties that are all different. All three of those safeties are different, but they can all do some special things. And I think they're guys that can play versus all the styles of offenses that we run into. And then addressing some needs at inside backer with Brock Miller showing up. That's a really good one for us.
You mentioned needs, and I know you guys don't care about star rankings and all that. I know you look for fits, but in terms of the flashiness, this class may not seem as flashy as like last year's when you had 3 or 4 stars and stuff like that. I mean, does it seem? It seems like though you did address the needs and things that you wanted to accomplish in this class, even if it doesn't from the outside look like an amazing class.
Right, and I, to be honest with you, I couldn't even tell you what the stars are. I mean, it's gotten to the point where, the best players I've been around usually weren't that many stars, right? So that's not a big concern. I don't think Leighton Vander Esch had a lot of stars coming out, you know what I mean?
Had none.
But right, exactly, it was a walk-on. So I think we addressed what we needed to, and we really dove into evaluation of what we wanted. We got a lot of length on the back end for the most part, and then a kid like Rodney that's shorter stature, he's explosive. Like we always talk about, we have position ideals we are looking for, right? But if they fall out of that, that box, what are the things that he brings to the table? And that's a kid that's, ridiculously fast twitch, all those things, and he can add some explosiveness. He's kind of like, offenses talk about having that weapon at running back / receiver. Like he's that type of guy on defense. So, everybody else, we've added length at the corner position, and we added obviously the beef up front that we need.
You added, at least some sort of transfer in all 3 levels of the defense. And
sure.
What in terms of just wanting to have some veteran experience in here? I know D-line, obviously, that was probably very important. What was kind of and linebacker too, what was kind of the thought process in going kind of, I don't know if heavy is the right word, but at least adding multiple guys that are coming in as non-high school guys?
Well, I think, like I said, we want to do, number one, add competition and immediate competition to as many of the position groups as possible. And I think the second thing is, the ground floor level of enough freshmen that go through the program. I mean, that's what you want. But when you run into those guys at the JC level or the grad transfer that absolutely fit what you're looking for, well, that adds immediate competition right away to those rooms, and competition breeds success, in my opinion. So that's what we were looking for.
With that D-line, I mean, Spencer was saying that, maybe scary is not the right word, but he's a little, uneasiness, I guess, of having to replace those guys.
No doubt.
In terms of your defense and what you asked that group to do, in terms of what you can call and stuff like that, what's that challenge going to be like, trying to replace those 4 guys up front?
Well, I think it's a huge challenge. I mean, you look at those guys, not only did we graduate some great players, but we graduated leadership, and we've talked to our defense quite a bit about that. I mean, the leadership has really moved to the back 7 as far as veterans. I do think there's some good leaders up front right now that we have on our team, but the veteran status is on the back end, and they need to step up and do a great job. I mean, you lose a guy like David Moa or Chase Atada or Louis, those guys provided a ton of leadership, and leadership really, ultimately usually is a difference maker.
You're happy to have all those guys last year, but then the trade-off is you got to go young this year. I mean,
no doubt. Yeah. But I mean, that's kind of how it works, right?
Yeah.
So, you have to see what you have and where you're going to go, and we got to build for the future and build for the now. And so that's what I think we address in this class is we have some guys that can make, in our opinion, immediate impact, and then we have a heavy group that can come in and they may make an immediate impact too, but for sure they're going to be able to be developed and be the guys down the road.
I know as coaches, your expectations don't change. Whoever takes over for Curtis Weaver, you want him to be the exact same player. But I mean, is that that doable with the 4 guys you lost and who you have left here?
Well, they're never going to be the exact same. Can they do some of the same things? Yes, but we're we try to look at is, what is our personnel? Be fundamentally and technique sound, and then we have our core schemes, but it's up to us to make sure we maximize what they can do well. I think we have a lot of players on this team that have a lot of talent, and it may just look a little different, right? I mean, it's hard to replace Curtis Weaver's pass rush, but Dimitri Washington's pretty dang good, and maybe he'll do it in just a little bit different way. We may have to get into some different looks, which is good. I think that's good every year. But I think if you're just dead set on this is what we're running, this is what we're calling, well, you better have the same dudes rolling in there every year, and that's not the case in college football. And we're not playing the same type of offense every week. You're going to line up week 2 and play Air Force, and then week 3 is Florida State, and they're not going to look anything the same. So you have to find versatility within these position groups to be able to handle those things.
You look back at yourself, and I know coaches always self-evaluate and things like that. How your first year here as DC and stuff, I mean, I know there were some highs, some lows, and stuff in between, and in-game second half adjustments. How do you kind of look back at what this year was like for you last year?
Well, I think number one, it was an amazing experience. Let's put it that way, and you kind of hit it in the middle of spring ball and on the run, and I think we did some really good things. I think there's some things that certainly can improve, but I think going into the second year, having a better feel, number one, as a staff. This is the second year all together as a staff, so we know how each other think, we know what we're talking, we're not trying to get on the same page. Now we're trying to really hit the accelerator on what we need to do. I think that part is exciting. I think that we did some really good things last year that we need to build off of, and then we have pinpointed areas that we have to improve. And whether it's you hear second half adjustments and all those things, I mean, really that's just a few games. I mean, that's all it is. A lot of that is in between series, and that was getting cohesiveness with our staff and our players so we get on the same page. I think we're at a point right now where we are further ahead at this point than we were. Well, really, I can't say a year ago. I can say March, right? So with that change, there comes some adversity. But I think number one, our players bought in immediately, and that's the biggest thing. And that's what we're trying to get again. I mean, you can't just say because we had a really tight unit last year that you're suddenly going to have that. And that's our challenge to our guys, is make sure we're all in alignment, from our head coach, coordinators, position coaches, players, trainers. Everybody's got to be on the same page. You're trying to rebuild that tight unit where the guys enjoy hanging out, because I think to play defense, you got to have a little fun too, right? And so you got to enjoy being around each other, and then the real difference maker is going to be, who arises as our leaders.
I guess final thing, you mentioned kind of the shift in leadership to the back seven. What in terms of talent, leadership, all that stuff, what is that kind of like, where now you have your 2 corners back, and you got some depth at safety, and you have, I know Zeke's out this spring, but you have a lot of guys that have played there in the middle too. I mean, it is kind of a shift there from what you've had in the last couple of years.
It is, and to me, it's exciting. I mean, yes, you always want a dominant front four, and I believe that we can have a dominant front four first and foremost. I don't want to shy away from that. It's just going to take a lot of work, and how it fits all together is part of the job, right? So we're excited about that. But when you have the back end, the back end is a ton of communication. And that's really the thing between linebackers and safeties. They're the highest communicators on the defense, and most of the problems on defense happen before the snap. So having a veteran group coming back, I think that gives us a chance to take some real strides there and getting everybody on the same page. And we have some talent that we're going to have to use. I mean, we're going to have to look into some looks that are simple for us, but maybe don't look the same for the offense. So we're excited about toying with that a little bit.